Hey Mats, good evening Jack. Nice to see everyone. It's Monday today, right? Yeah, it is. I get confused about the days sometimes. How's everyone doing today? Having a good beginning of the week, a good weekend? See, Jack is saying, how was your weekend? I had a interesting weekend, for sure. I think I've said before, my son is 2, and they don't call it the terrible twos for nothing. He was, like just terrible. Just really terrible. And it's good. It's good practice. It really gives you something to learn to not get upset about and realize that you don't mean anything at all in the eyes of a 2-year-old because their opinion and their wishes are the only thing that matter. That's quite useful to look at sometimes, but it is difficult when they overreact. But except for that, it was really nice, and even that turned out to be a nice thing in the end. It's like you feel for them. It's difficult for us, but for them it's even worse because they can't explain what they're feeling. Hey, Catherine. Yes, like I said, it was an interesting weekend, but it's calmer now, fortunately. And I'm feeling so much better than last week. Oh my goodness! When I was doing the recording, the stream last Thursday, I was so tired I could barely keep my eyes up. But now, I've slept good tonight, and it's interesting if you just let me sleep, I just don't have any problems. But when I don't sleep, then it becomes difficult, kind of. I had something interesting happen also. I talked to a very close friend who was going through something really difficult, and she felt disappointed in herself and in what she was doing. She felt that she should have done better and that she should have acted differently in a situation that she was in. And I was sitting with her and talking to her, and I could see, we often talk about distortions, right? And many people talk about the mind being the problem, but the mind isn't really the problem. The problem is these distortions. The more I work with people, students, the more I see that there's a way to express this to actually help people understand what I say. Because it's one thing for me to understand it, but then I need to kind of show what I'm talking about. And the main thing I've landed in is that we're trying to experience reality, not experience our stories. And when I was sitting there talking to her, she was so beating up on herself. And you can see this. When we say experience reality, it's not just a concept or an idea, like, oh, you should just experience. No, I mean really experiencing reality. Because I was sitting with her, and I could see she was like this. She's just gone. She was in her distortions, in their suffering, like grinding over and like thinking about she should have done different. I'm such a failure. It's so terrible. It's so wrong. It should have been different. I wish I would have. I would have, could have, should have. She's really suffering. And then, she's worked with me as well, so I speak to her quite a lot. And I said, I can see that right now you're not actually experiencing here. You're stuck in your distortions. Like if you look at your vision, how you're looking, you're not seeing with your eyes right now. And she went, oh, you're right. Because she wasn't really looking. She was in this story in her mind, and it was twisting and churning and hurting, and it was cramping up in her chest. But when I asked her to see, can you see? Are you actually seeing what's in front of you? She realized, wait a minute, I am not. And that realizations can flip the coin a bit. And then she's like, oh. And for a while, like a minute or so, she was out of shock. Well, that's remarkable. That's really, how did that work? That's incredible. When you said it, I could kind of shift, and I could see it in her. And when you start looking for this and understand what it looks like, it's quite easy to see in people when they're gone in their distortions. So just by bringing it to her awareness, she was able to shift it. But it can also make someone really pissed off at you because you're pointing out something to them. So it has to be someone who's actually willing to listen. And then she gradually fell back in it, but then we discussed, and then slowly by having a discussion and not trying to solve the issue, or trying to solve the problem, but focusing on what she was experiencing, she was able to let go of the main distortions. That doesn't mean she's never going to have a problem again, but that means that helped her overcome the issue without actually solving the issue. And she contacted me today and said that it went much better with that situation today, after she had kind of gone through it a bit. So that's an interesting concept of how we approach things. If we're approaching it from the story, right and wrong, what I want out of it, or if we're approaching it from what am I experiencing. And if you're approaching it from what am I experiencing, it's much easier to be here and enjoy being here. See, Jack is saying, that's why Buddha proposed homelessness, less stress. Oh yeah. I mean, there's a really good argument for being homeless. Me and my fiance, we quite often joke when we're driving away, like, how far is it to drive to Ibiza? Because it's like our thing. When things get tough, we say, okay, I'm just going to get on a plane. I'm just going to go to Ibiza and just forget about everything. Sometimes that would be very nice. So it really is that easy. By focusing on your senses, you can overcome this story in your mind, this friction that you have towards reality. And you won't necessarily solve the outside situation, but you will solve the problem, the feeling that it is a problem. And it's remarkable that when you have less distortion, less friction towards it, it's much, much easier to resolve the situation. Is that just that you don't go into it by trying to solve the situation. You go into it by trying to experience reality. And the solving of the situation is secondary, kind of. Now, of course, if this is a life or death situation, then that changes. Or if it's something that's really, you have to, there's a child running out on the road. Don't stand like, okay, I can feel my distortion. I see the child on the road. No, just drop everything and run. I don't care if you have a panic attack. Just go and save the child. That's obviously the most important thing right then. But for most of us, most of the things we suffer from are not life and death. They're not really that difficult situation. It's just that in our minds they become like that. See, Jack is saying, I've been in a state of I should be there, but I am here so many times that it comes on its own and goes away spontaneously. I should be there, but I am here. What do you mean by that, Jack? I'm trying to understand what you're saying. The mind is playing tricks on us. Yes, it is. I'm going to read that again. I've been in a state of I should be there, but I am... Oh, you mean I should be somewhere else. I should be going somewhere, but I am here right now. And then you're aware of being here. I'm assuming that's what you mean. Nice. Yeah, I figured that's what you were getting at. That's nice. Yeah, sometimes that happens. You can kind of stand separate from it and see that you're telling yourself you should be somewhere else, you should be doing something, but then gradually you come back to just experiencing. And it really is that simple. It's about experiencing. I made a video this weekend. I'm trying to think what was it about? I think, because I have a few concepts that are quite similar. It was about, don't feel gratitude, feel appreciation instead. This is something that was difficult for me to separate for people when I talked about it. But the difference between feeling gratitude and feeling appreciation is that when you feel gratitude, you're thankful about something. There's something that happened to you, and you're grateful that happened, and you're trying to create a feeling like, oh, it's so nice, I have this, I have that. There's a strong sense of I'm not worthy, or I should be grateful for having this. Whereas when you appreciate, and not just appreciate what you have, but appreciate is now. It doesn't really involve time in the same way, but actually appreciating your senses. You're appreciating that you're experiencing reality. I'm appreciating how comfortable it is to sit and to feel temperature on my skin, instead of thinking, ooh, I should be moving forward with this meditation. I should be sharing some kind of wisdom, or I should be going to Ibiza. I mean, whatever it is I should be doing, like Jack is saying, just appreciate that you're here. Just feel your senses. Not the story about where you are, the story about what's happening to you. Which is why, again, I've said this before many times, the people who have the most money in the world definitely don't seem to be the happiest people in the world. Also, the people who have the least stuff in the world don't seem to be the happiest people in the world either. It's not really about what you have. It's how you relate to what you have. But even more than that, it's how able you are to enjoy being here, to enjoy your senses, whatever your reality is. And like I've also said before, in some situations that's more difficult than others. But really it's about appreciating being here and what you're experiencing in this moment. Jack, yes. Jethro, good evening, Martin. Mats, Jack, and Ali. Nice to see you, Jethro. So, let's start with the meditation. For those of you who are new, we start with a little chat like this. If there's some discussions or things coming up, or I just tell some random off story that sometimes has a purpose, and sometimes it's just me rambling. After that, we do what we call the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which is a method where we focus on our senses. And we start by saying out aloud 5 things that we can see around us, 4 things that we can feel, 3 things that we can hear, 2 things that we can smell, and finally 1 thing that we can taste. And the whole idea is to stop and become aware of your senses. Not the story of your senses. Ooh, I like this so much. This is so comfortable in here. I built this this office myself, and I'm so proud of it, and I'm so happy that I'm able to have this. There's so many other people who have not all of that story. Just what are you actually seeing? There's a carpet on the wall. There's a tapestry on the wall, and there's a carpet. I can see those things. And when you really feel without trying to evaluate, oh, I like this, I don't like this, this is mine, this is not mine, I prefer this to that. Like, try to let go of all of those things and just feel, what does texture feel like? Can you feel the sensations of something touching your skin? What does that actually feel like? And it would be much better if you just did one thing than all of them, if you were able to stop and fully experience that sense at that time. So we'll do that, and today is Monday, so we have a guided meditation. After that, if there's any questions, we'll have a question and answer, or we just drink a little bit of tea and then go to bed. So, say it out loud with me, and it's good if you try to say it out loud, not just say it in your mind. Again, we're not trying to just ramble these off. We're trying to stop and observe our senses. So I see a pattern of stuff. It looks very 2D. That's interesting. Even though I know it's 3D. I see a round lamp. I see a pair of scissors. I see a hole in my t-shirt. And I see the letters Falke. Now those were 5 things that I could see. Now we take 4 things that we can feel. So I can feel tickling in my nose. I think there's a hair there. I can feel my nose with my fingers. I can feel the carpet, the texture of the carpet. And I can feel the steel cylinder of my thermos. And when you're experiencing this, also try to add appreciation, enjoyment. See that your senses are enjoyable when you're experiencing things. Now we go to a little bit more fine sense, so to speak. It's not less obvious. We're going to listen to sounds and try to listen for, if you hear something, try to listen for a little bit deeper, if there's nuances within that sound, or if you can find something behind it. So maybe not just take the first sound you hear. I mean, that's okay, but really listen and find nuances and say out loud what you can hear. I can hear ticking in the metal outside of this office. Temperature ticking. I hear some kind of engine outside. I'm thinking it's a two-stroke engine, a small one. I can hear my breath. After that, we take two things that we can smell. Now we really need to start focusing to be able to experience smell, because it's something we don't pay a lot of attention to. I can smell something sweet. I can smell fabric. And finally, take one thing that we can taste. I can taste blood. So for this meditation, we'll be focusing on our breath. And I want you to start moving your awareness to your chest, to feel a wide sense of awareness of what it feels like to observe your breath. We're not trying to influence the breath. We're not trying to move the breath. We're just trying to observe the breath as it's happening inside of us, with as little input as possible from you. Now, when we start looking at the breath, it becomes quite obvious for most that this is not an easy thing to do. And the reason is that there's all these things that tend to pull us apart, that tends to pull us away from experiencing what our senses are showing us right now. the stories we have running in the back of our mind, or sometimes in the front of our mind. But for the next 20 minutes, I want you to ask yourself for permission to let go of all the things that have happened in the past, all the things you think you need to figure out and understand, to feel good or bad about, to analyze, to criticize, to feel judgment, to understand, and just let the world be exactly as it is for the next 20 minutes. Because no matter what, you're not going to be interacting with it, other than what you can see from this perspective with your closed eyes. And also, there might be some really important things happening tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow, or next week, or the week after next week. Maybe even next year. You're already worried about that. But for now, let all of those things be. They will be there when we're done with the meditation. I promise you don't have to worry about them disappearing. So instead of trying to solve those things, again, ask yourself for permission to do this one simple thing of observing your breath. Surely that is something that you can do. Allow yourself to be just here, just now, observing, watching, feeling, sensing as your breath is moving in and moving out. No judgment whether it's fast, whether it's slow. Not trying to affect it to create some kind of sensation inside of you. Instead, just trying to step to the side and observe your breath, whatever it may do. To make this a little bit easier, we will use a technique where we count our breaths from 1 to 8, and then down again from 8 to 1. And I will do it one time with you, and then you can continue by yourself. So breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. 2. Breathing in and breathing out. 3. Breathing in and breathing out. 4. Breathing in and breathing out. 5. Breathing in, breathing out. 6. Breathing in, breathing out. 7. Breathing in, breathing out. 8. Breathing in, breathing out. 7. Breathing in and breathing out. 6. Breathing in, breathing out. 5. Breathing in, breathing out. 4. Breathing in, breathing out. 3. Breathing in breathing out. 2. Breathing in, breathing out. 1. Now continue counting your breath by yourself from 1 to 8, and then down again from 8 to 1 as you're breathing in, breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. As you're observing your breath flowing in and out, feeling the sensations inside of you, experiencing being here, look for what it would take to turn your mood, the way you currently feel, into being in a good mood. Not because of something happening outside, not because of having won the lottery or anything in particular, even the sheer miracle of being alive, but instead just by itself letting come out from you the feeling of being in a good mood, the feeling of enjoying sitting here, not the concepts of the room you're in and how fortunate you are to live where you live, but just how it feels nice to sit, to breathe, to hear, to feel your breath moving, to feel your chest moving, to sometimes feeling the pulsing of your heart, sometimes in the chest, sometimes maybe even in your eyelids or your neck. But just experiencing reality as it is happening to you and finding that that is just by the sensate reality of your senses that is enjoyable, See if you can see how there is enjoyment of being without needing to do something. And if you tell yourself that's impossible, I could never do that, or that would be lying or tricking myself, then just think of the last time you saw a child walking down the road. Very likely they weren't walking. Many times kids will just skip or jump or stop and stare at an ant on the ground or make a wheel cart or whatever you call it. There's just enjoyment of experiencing reality. It's full of possibilities, full of fun, enjoyment. Not that they need to go somewhere to do that, but just from being here. They're just so much better than us at enjoying being here. So look for that childish enjoyment, that feeling of what I used to always call happy feet. When there's a feeling in the stomach of happy feet dancing on my stomach. See if you can find that feeling inside of you and let that come up and then sink into that softness and enjoy being here, being you, experiencing your senses as you breathe in and breathe out. 1. Breathe in and breathe out. if you find it difficult to enjoy being here, maybe your mind is saying, "And Martin, you don't understand what happened to me. Earlier today, they said this, they did that. It's unfair, that is cruel. You don't do that to other people. I was treated so poorly before. Whatever it is that happened, I'm not saying that's not true, or that you're not entitled to your feelings. But what I ask you to do is look at this moment right now. After all, there is only now. There is nothing outside of here. The feeling that the past is real or the future is real is just an illusion. It's something you're making up with your distortions when you're pushing towards and pulling towards something in the past or something in the future. But when you let go of it, some people use the word forgive or love. They give thanks for it, whatever they do. When you let go of the distortion of what happened before or what might happen in the future, and instead see that it's just now. The natural question is this how you want to experience this only moment that you have? This is the only moment that you will ever experience now. And you have a choice. You can choose to be upset with other people, with the world, with yourself. Or you can choose that just now, you don't have to do it after if you don't want to, but just for the few minutes that remain of the meditation, to choose happiness, to choose appreciation, to choose enjoying being here. As you observe your breath, breathing in, and breathing out. 1. Breathing in, and breathing out. Thank you, that was very nice. If you feel like it, continue sitting, just listening to if there's anything being said. Or you can have a cup of tea if you feel like that, or ask a question if you want to have something you want to ask about. You too, Jack. Thank you. See, Jethro is saying, Martin, what are your thoughts on mixing meditation styles, not in the same sitting, but perhaps alternating mindfulness of breathing with an open awareness meditation at different times of day? I think that's really great. I personally, I see that different meditation techniques have different purposes. So what we're trying to do here is to widen our awareness. We're trying to focus on what I call distortions, these things happening towards the world around you, so that next time that you're having a conversation and all of a sudden you snap and you react by being angry, you might have thought, oh, it's their fault, they did this is why I'm reacting. But now you feel this strong distortion inside of you, like, hey, wait a minute, there's something happening. And when you start looking at the distortion, you feel like, okay, it's coming from a centered point and it's pushing out towards that part. And the more you look at that, you'll see, oh, this is actually really uncomfortable. And then you learn to let go of that, actually realizing that it's painful and you don't want to live your life like that. So that technique has its purposes. You can also do pure concentration meditation when you focus on a narrow, small point of view, even though I try to never do that, because I try to widen my awareness. That's my whole purpose. When you have a small point you're observing, something very tiny, you're condensing more self, and we want to get rid of that. But there are many techniques which you can combine, and they can have different purposes. Some can be for becoming relaxed, because you want to go to bed, or because you're stressed. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method is amazing if you have lots of difficult feelings and emotions and you can't calm down. Coming to your senses can really help with calming you down. Or doing walking meditation is a great technique. They actually combine most of the centers I went to. They would do walking and sitting. They do 1 hour walking, 1 hour sitting, 1 hour walking, 1 hour sitting, and the whole day was like that. So yeah, absolutely mix whatever techniques you feel gives you something, but ultimately you should work towards continuously throughout the day feeling your inner state and trying to turn that towards feeling good, towards enjoyment of being here, wherever that might be. But you can use many different techniques for that, for sure. And you will probably use some techniques and then let go of them. And then something else will pop up, and eventually you'll find your style. I mean, I've been meditating since, well, I want to say 2009, when I became ordained. Was it 2009? Yeah, 2009. But I meditated many years before that, but I don't really see that as serious, because it was just a little bit here, a little bit there, never anything regular, kind of. But then when I really started meditating, I tried different techniques, and I mixed them, and I tried things, and now I've developed my own practice, which is what I'm teaching here. Which is more not dependent on a specific technique. It's more a concept of how we're experiencing reality and how the sense of self is made up than a single technique. Lulia Staniskuku. Thank you, Martin. You're welcome, Lulia. Nice to see you, by the way. I think it's the first time I see you. If you have any questions about the meditation, feel free to ask. Jack, take care everyone. Good night. Good night, Jack. Jethro, thanks. Is what we just did closer to Vipassana than Shamatha? So this is actually neither of those. Vipassana, you observe the three qualities of, I keep forgetting what this is called, if it's the three qualities of life or reality, I think they call it. So everything contains suffering. There is no self in any experience you can have, and everything is impermanent. And we observe that everything contains distortion until you're able to let go of it. We also observe that everything is coming and going. You see the breath coming and going, there's pain, it goes. So just by observing, you will do this. And we also see that there is no self. That's the distortion. When that disappears, you will see that there is nothing there. There is nothing for you to protect when you let go of that. But the thing that differs from the way we practice to Vipassana is the changing what you're experiencing towards joy. So Vipassana basically says just observe, don't touch, don't influence anything. And I have seen people who have done this for decades, for the entire day, just decades doing this, and they become very hard, it feels like. They're very aware of what comes up, like snap it when there's something coming up, and you talk to them and it's like talking to a stone wall. And it can be very intimidating for people who are not used to this, because they're so aware, they're really looking into your soul, and it can be scary for many people. And then that seems very impressive, but the problem is they keep doing that and there's not much enjoyment. It doesn't really lead to anything other than a really calm, neutral state, which is not what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring in enjoyment, appreciation, because those are the qualities that are there when the sense of self disappears. So therefore, this is not Vipassana. Shamatha, or concentration meditation, focuses on observing a point, usually the smaller the better many times, and you kind of lull yourself into, oh, I'm just sitting here, the waves are going in and out, and I forget about all my problems. I'm just observing the breath coming in and out, and you're kind of putting yourself into trance. You become very relaxed and very calm, and it's what most people in the West consider meditation is concentration meditation. So we're not doing that either. We're doing something else that contains elements from both of them, but I would say the thing that is really added is the part of enjoyment. And I got that from when I was at Plum Village, and I had been meditating 10-15 hours per day for the better part of the year, and then I spent my summers in Plum Village, and they just spoke about enjoy yourself, be happy, just feel the nature, and feel grateful for all the things that happen around us, and just be here and be present and be happy. Enjoy the beautifulness and the miracle of nature. And I was there, and I was experiencing these non-centric states or non-dualistic states daily, like throughout the whole summer. And I was wondering why I didn't do that when I was meditating more intensely, because I would sit 10-15 hours per day in Asia, but when I was in France, in Plum Village, I would sit 5 hours per week, and yet I had more non-dual experiences, non-centric experiences. And that was, I figured out later, because of the enjoyment part. So if you have the sitting, that the strength of the mind, bhavana, of cultivating the mind to make it strong to be able to observe, then it's much easier to do that. So just trying to enjoy can be difficult, but you need that sense of the quality of concentration in there also. Mats, I'll head out and watch Stargate now. Have a good one, everyone. Awesome, Mats. Thanks as always for the invitation, Martin. Thank you too, Mats. Jethro, interesting. I'm sure I'll get it. Or no one will get it eventually. Yeah, it's... I don't get too caught up on semantics when it comes to not saying, oh, I'm not here, I'm not getting it. That is true, but people, especially in non-duality circuits, they get so caught up on, like, it's the concept, I have no concept, and they take away their concept, but they still have distortions. It doesn't matter if you get rid of the thoughts. That's not the problem. The problem is the distortions. And you'll see this many times when you get into a fight. It will usually not start with the thoughts of, oh, that person is terrible. We start with a feeling, a distortion. You're distorting towards something, and then the mind comes in and feels, oh, I knew they're always going to do that. And it starts filling in the blanks kind of to make that happen. So in a way, you're right. Yeah, no one will get it, but that's not really the point. Like, it's more that things will get dissolved. Don't worry about what you are or what you aren't. Like, that's just focus on enjoying and experiencing your senses. That's all you need to do. When you start getting caught up in these, that's just mental constructs again. Even though you think you're taking it away, now you're introducing a new one that I am everything and I have nothing to worry. That's also a construct. Just focus on what you're experiencing. That's it. Very simple. And turn towards enjoying your reality. Nadia, you also, nice to see you here. I have caught your yawns. Yes, I am tired. I am very tired. Did you mean that they're contagious, so now you're yawning as well, Nadia? Jethro is saying, true, that's why I use the winky face. Oh yeah, I see it now, sorry, yes. Perfect. Glad you noticed that difference. There is a difference. I'm very confounded by the non-dual practices, and I think they're, just talking a lot. It seems like I'm having a hard time sometimes to understand how they can practice the way they do, because they're so caught up in their minds and trying to change. They're basically trying to change their idea of what is real, and that's it's a belief. It's just a belief. You can't say that what you experience is true just because that's what you're experiencing. You're trying to, I feel like I'm everything. Well, that doesn't mean you are everything. That just means you're feeling like you don't really have a boundary. You're trying to make interpretations of your experiences instead of just saying, I feel that there is no center point, which is why I don't say non-duality. I say non-centricness. There is no sense of a center. That we can say. But that doesn't mean there's not dual, because very obviously this is the hand that I can control, and I cannot control this sofa. That I can touch this sofa with this. So we're getting kind of into philosophy, and I just find that to be in the way. They are contagious. Well, I'm happy to hear that, so hopefully you'll sleep well tonight, and hopefully I will sleep well tonight as well. And it's 9 o'clock, so that's actually perfect timing. I had some thoughts. Has anyone watched my newer videos? I've been doing them a bit differently. I've just been recording when I'm at work. I have an idea and I just record them, and they're quite raw compared to when I sit here and I edit and I do it more thought out. Has anyone seen those, and what are your thoughts? Is that working, or yeah? See, Mindful Mama saying, thank you again for tonight. These evenings are such a nice time being together. Some wisdom and practice. Thank you. You too. We will finish very soon. If anyone had any thoughts on that, feel free to write it. Or, and also if you watch the videos, press the like button, leave a comment. It's really good for the YouTube ad. The same with these sittings. If you sit, just press the like button after. I'd never ask about this stuff, but feel free to press the like button or write a comment or something like that. It's YouTube's way of seeing that people appreciate it and interact with it, and that's that really helps it, because more people come. And as you noticed, we have a really base that comes every time, and it's very nice to get regulars. And the more time that goes, we're getting more regulars. So it's fun, because the more people come, the more the merrier. There's more questions. Jethro, I'll have to check out your recent videos. Thank you for tonight. Thank you, Jethro. Nadia, the videos filmed outdoors are great, and what brought me to your channel. Oh, happy to hear that, Nadia. Yeah, there's more of those coming. I have one that I find really interesting that is coming out this weekend about how monks escape the world's suffering, which I'm very curious to see how people will receive that. I did watch the lakeside video. That's what I like to think of Sweden is like. All of Sweden. Unfortunately, not all of it, but at least my work is like that. And I have you should, okay, just the one I'm releasing this weekend, watch it. That day was, oh my goodness, it's like a fairy tale. I was down by the lake, and it was just sunlight and completely blank lake. It was like a mirror, and it was warm, and I was standing there. I was just feeling so good. And I was like, I'm going to record something. And I just recorded a video. Sometimes I have like an idea that pops up, and I'll just, record that. So even if you don't agree with what I say, you're going to like the scenery, because I think that's one of the most beautiful days I ever recorded on. And the sound is much better than the last one because it was blowing so much last time that it was difficult to hear. But I've gotten a new microphone now, so hopefully the next recordings will be better. Light. Thank you, Mindful Mama. I appreciate that. Birch trees and water. That's the best. Well, thank you everyone for coming tonight, and I'll see you all on Thursday, and I wish you a really good week. And as I said, focus on experiencing your now, what you're experiencing now, and turn towards enjoying wherever you are, wherever you're doing, and just enjoy your senses. Not the stories, but your actual experience as a living human being. Thank you.